Good afternoon to the citizens of St. Bernard Parish. This is Monday, March 23rd for our update. Just to let you guys know, we've already been through all of the media outlets that you can receive this and receive updates from your parish government and from your elected officials. We will now go to one update a day at approximately 4 p.m. every day. We will have a new update for you. So today, let me get started with today's update. The first thing that we want to make sure that we update the citizens of St. Bernard for is a message from the school system. I talked to Ms. Voce, our school superintendent, a little while ago. She wanted to come and deliver this message herself, but you can find it at the school system's website and on their Facebook. And the message is that they will discontinue delivering food beginning tomorrow based on the executive order handed down by Governor Bell Edwards and basically the same order issued by your parish president, myself, yesterday, and trying to make sure that people stay home under this new stay-home order. So if all of the employees at the school system, their lives and safety is of the most importance to us and our school system. So we won't have enough people to deliver those meals. So that is a message from our school system. Another thing we had a question today about was funerals. We are following guidelines, and funeral homes should be following these guidelines. No more than 10 people at a gathering. It's a sad thing to say, but that is the recommendations. It was pretty interesting yesterday at our news conference. Dr. Cantor was there, and they don't even know at this time how long a body is contagious if they die of the COVID-19. So there's a lot of questions around that. Look, it's a sad time. People are dying alone in the hospital because they're not letting people into the hospital to visit patients. And then they're being buried alone, basically, right? So this is some tough times and some unforeseen things here, but that was a question we had, and we looked into it. And that's why we're asking people to stay home. We're asking people to observe social distancing. We are asking people to wash your hands. All of these simple things. We're asking you to stay home, right? And only do essential things. Now, something essential to one person may be different for another person. I'm going to give you an example. I was cutting my grass. I think it was Saturday. Maybe yesterday, Sunday. I was cutting my grass and got stopped by a few residents, and we talking and phone calls. And one young lady stopped and said, "How are you doing?" I said, "I'm doing fine. I'm cutting my grass, trying to get this done." We were very busy, and she started complaining about a lot of people not adhering to the guidelines. Now, this was up to yesterday, and everybody's out and about like nothing's going on. This is a very serious thing that people ought to be observing all of these guidelines. So I said, "Yeah, and I appreciate you. I'm gonna get back to cut my grass." "Well, where are you coming from? The grocery?" Just a conversation. She says, "No, I'm coming from the nail salon." So what was essential to her may not be essential to someone else. But to her, obviously, out of that conversation, going to the nail salon was essential. We have to use common sense. We have to know that that is not essential. Just that's the tip of the iceberg when we're talking about what's essential and what's not. And then we get guidance from Baton Rouge on some things that I may feel is not essential, but it's different from Baton Rouge. So We have to adhere to our state guidelines and our state guidance from the governor and from the attorney general and from the ATC, who regulates ballrooms and daiquiri shops and all of those type of things. So those things are happening. It's fluid. This has never happened before. I do want to say today that we seem to be fixated on the number of cases that come out in the LDH website, which is very important. But I can't stress enough, and we've said this in a lot of different ways, but maybe not as pointed. But there are so many more people that are infected that are not being tested. So many people have the symptoms. They don't meet the criteria to be tested because testing is limited, and they're sending them home with symptoms and telling them to stay at home until you are asymptomatic or until you have no symptoms, and then stay home for another 3 days, and then you're good. The advice of whether you get tested or not, and they think you have it, is the same advice that you're getting from doctors, unless your symptoms are such where you need to be hospitalized. But just know, and I don't want anyone to get a false sense of security, because in St. Bernard Parish we have X amount of cases compared to New Orleans or compared to St. Tammany. You know, we are in it. If you look at the bubble, we're in it. Look at what happened in Italy. I believe it was northern Italy was having a problem, so southern Italy, they were going about their business. We don't have a problem. Guess what? They all have the problem now. So we are going down the road here in this crisis, and in about 7 days or so, we're going to have some information to find out where we are on this curve. Some critical decisions by our president and our governor is going to happen in 7 days. Are we doing the things necessary to make sure that we can flatten that curve? It doesn't look like we are. It looks like we're trying to comply. A lot of people are complaining, people out and about. It doesn't look like we're going to flatten that curve. We may. I hope so. I hope we're doing everything that we can. Most of our citizens are wanting to comply and trying to comply, right? But I don't know if we're doing a good enough job yet. I don't know if you listened to the governor of New York today and the tweet by President Trump earlier in the week. And he put it out there that the cure cannot be worse than the virus. Think about that for a second. The cure cannot be worse than the virus. The governor from New York today says sooner or later, now remember, New York is about a week ahead of us. They've shut down the state. So go a week from now, let's see what happens in Louisiana, but they're ahead of us. The governor from New York today is saying that we're going to have to begin the conversation of lives and economic stability. Do we put people back to work to make sure that the economic stability doesn't fall off the map? Because that's important. That's our lifeblood. Or do we continue to go down this road of trying to lock down everything to save lives? So where's that balance? So that discussion from our leaders is happening right now, right? So we need to isolate. We need to make sure that essential is essential is essential. I can't define it any more than common sense people knowing what is essential and what is not. And we all know it, right? I have a business. I want to stay in business. We get all of that. But is it essential? Is it right for your employees to be at risk? We are doing everything that we can, I know at parish government, to make sure our employees work from home as best we can. Remember, we have to deliver about 10 million gallons a day of water. We have to maintain those systems to make sure that you still receive the basic necessities. So we're doing that the best we can. And remember, thank a parish employee if you see them on the street, because they are doing a Herculean job. With all of this going on, we have to stand up our health systems. John Ram, our OEP director, has been submitting for PPEs, the mask, the gloves, for our healthcare system, for our firefighters, for our sheriff's deputies, because they're on the front lines of this thing. They have to be with the public. They have to interact with the public. It's so important. So when you call the troops in St. Bernard Parish, the troops are going to show up. And we're going to continue to do that. But I just wanted, all of these things are going on around us. And we have to talk to our neighbors. We have to talk to our family members who may not be as serious about this. And they have to start practicing social distancing and stay home. Stay home. If you have symptoms, call your doctor. Call a healthcare facility. Don't go run out to them. They will give you advice, right? Because that is putting stress on the healthcare system. We have people working in the healthcare system that comes in contact, may have a symptom, may not. They have to quarantine for 14 days. And where are they going on the 15th day with no symptoms? They're going back into the fight with little, or not enough, I should say, PPEs to protect them. Personal protective equipment for the healthcare industry, right? So I know you're hearing all of this on national news, but it's affecting us right here in St. Bernard Parish. So I rambled on a little bit today. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on. And with all of this going on, all of this serious stuff, something real simple, stay at home. Stay at home. It's real simple. With all of this going on, we have to, as parish government, I spent most of my time today worrying about businesses who everyone knows is non-essential, staying open. Attorneys getting letters written from agencies at the state level to stay open. We need to stay at home. We need to either go back to work all together, or we need to just stay at home and really think about what's essential to the community as a whole. Because the sooner we get to the end of this thing, the sooner we go back to work. So if we keep playing games with each other and we keep parsing and moving along this line, we are going to do the same thing that New York. We're going to be in the same position New York is today, a week from today. We're on that collision course. So things seem okay here in St. Bernard. I'm looking outside our council chambers. Cars passing. It's a beautiful day, right? We have an invisible enemy, like our president mentions every single day. It's invisible. You and I now know a few people who are infected with this disease, or have been told that they're infected and they can't get tested. And they're sitting at home right now and they're putting it on Facebook, or they're calling you and letting you know the symptoms that they have. We all know somebody by now, right? So I'm just imploring with you to please be responsible. Please adhere to our advice. And we're going to get through this. And we're going to do it together if we do, right? And we can't have a small percentage of our community that's just not listening, because that affects us all. It's got to be all in to beat this invisible enemy. So thank you all for being here today and listening. Please do the right thing. and God bless.